There is a kind of exhaustion that no one talks about during a twin pregnancy. It is the exhaustion of smiling during meetings while hiding the pain in your back, answering emails while fighting nausea, and pretending everything is under control while your emotions collapse in silence. Carrying twins is already a journey that pushes the body beyond limits, but trying to maintain a professional routine at the same time can feel like surviving two full-time lives at once. Every morning becomes a battle between responsibility and vulnerability, between ambition and the growing realization that your body is asking for mercy. This is not just a story about pregnancy. It is a story about pressure, resilience, fear, and the invisible emotional weight parents of twins carry long before the babies are even born. For many parents expecting twins, balancing work and pregnancy becomes one of the hardest emotional and physical challenges they will ever face. The excitement of preparing for two babies often comes with overwhelming fatigue, financial pressure, sleepless nights, and constant anxiety about whether everything can truly be managed. In this video, we are diving deep into the reality of maintaining a professional life while experiencing the intense demands of a twin pregnancy. From emotional breakdowns hidden behind computer screens to moments of unexpected strength, this journey reveals what many parents silently endure every single day. If you are a parent, expecting twins, or simply someone trying to balance responsibilities during difficult seasons of life, this story will speak directly to you. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share your own experiences in the comments below. The first months of the pregnancy felt almost unreal, as though life had suddenly accelerated beyond my ability to process it. Discovering that I was expecting twins transformed every ordinary thought into something larger, heavier, and more emotionally charged. What should have been pure happiness quickly became mixed with fear because I understood immediately that this would not be a typical pregnancy. At the same time, my professional life demanded consistency, productivity, and emotional control. Every morning I woke up exhausted before the day had even begun, carrying a body that already felt overwhelmed by the physical demands of nurturing two growing lives. Still, deadlines continued to exist, meetings still filled my calendar, and expectations at work remained unchanged. I tried to convince myself that discipline alone could carry me through the pressure, but beneath the surface, anxiety was growing rapidly. The emotional weight of trying to remain dependable while physically deteriorating became a silent battle I carried alone every single day without showing weakness. As the pregnancy progressed, the physical symptoms intensified in ways I had never imagined possible. The exhaustion was no longer something that sleep could fix because every part of my body felt permanently drained. Walking upstairs became difficult, sitting for long periods caused constant discomfort, and even concentrating during simple tasks demanded enormous mental effort. Yet, professionally, I continued pretending that nothing had changed. I smiled during virtual meetings while secretly fighting dizziness, answered messages while struggling with nausea, and forced myself to maintain the same pace I once handled effortlessly. The hardest part was not the physical pain itself, but the emotional pressure of proving that pregnancy had not weakened me. Deep inside, I feared being seen as less capable or unreliable. Carrying twins forced me to confront limits I had ignored my entire life. But instead of slowing down, I pushed myself harder. That decision slowly transformed normal stress into emotional exhaustion that followed me into every corner of my daily routine. The emotional instability became impossible to ignore during the second trimester because hormones, exhaustion, and constant pressure created an overwhelming mental storm. Some mornings began with tears before I even left the bed. Not because something terrible had happened, but because my mind and body simply could not carry the same emotional burden anymore. Despite this internal chaos, I continued showing up professionally because responsibilities do not pause during pregnancy. Bills still had to be paid, future expenses for two babies were approaching rapidly, and financial fear became another heavy layer added to the emotional pressure. I remember staring at my computer screen for long periods without processing simple information because my mind was consumed by endless worries about the future. Would I be strong enough to handle motherhood and work simultaneously? Would my health survive the stress? These thoughts followed me constantly, turning ordinary workdays into emotional marathons. Still, I kept moving forward because stopping never seemed like an available option for someone carrying so many responsibilities. One of the most difficult realities of a twin pregnancy is the loneliness that often hides behind public encouragement. People celebrate the idea of twins with excitement, but few truly understand the physical sacrifice and emotional vulnerability involved. At work, many colleagues offered congratulations, but very few recognized how profoundly my daily life had changed. There were moments during long meetings when I struggled to breathe comfortably while simultaneously trying to appear focused and professional. Every task required more energy than before, yet expectations remained the same. What hurt most was realizing how invisible the struggle had become. I learned how easily people confuse survival with strength because outwardly I still appeared functional. Inside, however, I was constantly negotiating between protecting my health and preserving my professional identity. Carrying twins while maintaining a career forced me into a state of emotional endurance that I had never experienced before. It taught me that sometimes resilience looks less like confidence and more like quietly refusing to collapse under invisible pressure. As the months passed, my body began demanding limitations that my professional routine could no longer ignore. Doctor appointments became more frequent, medical concerns increased, and physical discomfort transformed into daily pain. Sitting at a desk for extended periods caused swelling and exhaustion, while stress triggered intense emotional reactions that left me emotionally drained for hours afterward. The growing reality that I could not control everything became deeply frustrating because I had spent most of my life believing hard work could solve almost any problem. Twin pregnancy challenged that belief completely. For the first time, I had to accept that productivity could not come before health. Yet emotionally, that acceptance felt almost impossible because I associated rest with failure. Even when my body begged for recovery, my mind continued focusing on unfinished responsibilities and professional expectations. Learning how to slow down became one of the hardest lessons of the entire journey because it forced me to confront how deeply my identity had become connected to constant performance and productivity. The emotional relationship between motherhood and ambition became increasingly complicated as my due date approached. I loved my career, valued my independence, and had always taken pride in my professional achievements. Suddenly, however, I found myself confronting guilt from every direction. If I focused too much on work, I worried about harming my health or neglecting my babies. If I prioritized rest, I felt guilty about losing productivity or falling behind professionally. The balance I desperately tried to maintain often felt completely impossible. Some nights I stayed awake for hours, overwhelmed by fear that I would fail both as a mother and as a professional. Carrying twins amplified every insecurity because the responsibility felt doubled in every possible way. At the same time, society constantly romanticizes motherhood while ignoring the psychological pressure many women experience during pregnancy. Behind every smiling photo and public celebration, there are often silent fears, emotional breakdowns, and moments of deep uncertainty that few people ever truly see or understand completely. One unexpected challenge during the pregnancy was the emotional impact of losing control over my own body. Before carrying twins, I had always felt physically capable and independent, but pregnancy transformed simple activities into exhausting tasks that required careful management. My body no longer operated according to my plans or expectations, and that loss of control affected my confidence more than I anticipated. Professionally, I had built a life around reliability and efficiency, yet suddenly even basic routines became unpredictable. Some days I had energy to function normally, while others left me barely capable of completing essential tasks. The emotional frustration of this inconsistency became difficult to manage because I constantly compared myself to the person I used to be before pregnancy. I struggled to accept that vulnerability did not mean weakness. Over time, however, I slowly realized that carrying two lives required extraordinary strength, even during moments when I felt emotionally fragile. That understanding gradually changed the way I viewed resilience and personal worth entirely. Support became one of the most important elements in surviving the emotional and professional pressure of the pregnancy. There were moments when encouragement from loved ones became the only thing keeping me emotionally stable. Simple acts of understanding carried enormous emotional value because they reminded me that I did not have to prove strength every second of the day. Unfortunately, many parents expecting twins do not receive enough emotional support during pregnancy because society often focuses exclusively on the babies while overlooking the well-being of the parents themselves. The pressure to remain positive can become emotionally exhausting when someone is silently struggling with fear, pain, and uncertainty. I eventually learned that asking for help was not a sign of failure, but an act of self-preservation. Whether it was reducing work responsibilities, accepting emotional support, or simply allowing myself to rest without guilt, every small adjustment became necessary for survival. The journey taught me that strength grows more sustainably through support than through isolation and silent suffering. As the final weeks of pregnancy arrived, every day felt physically overwhelming and emotionally intense. Sleep became almost impossible because discomfort, anxiety, and anticipation consumed my nights completely. At work, even simple conversations required concentration I no longer possessed naturally. My body had reached its limits, and emotionally I felt suspended between fear and excitement. Yet despite the exhaustion, something inside me had changed profoundly. The pressure of balancing pregnancy and professional responsibilities had forced me to confront unrealistic expectations I had placed upon myself for years. I began understanding that worth is not measured solely through productivity or endurance. Carrying twins while navigating emotional and physical limitations revealed a different kind of strength, one rooted not in perfection, but in persistence. Every difficult day survived became proof that resilience often exists quietly within ordinary moments of struggle. Although the journey had pushed me beyond anything I previously believed possible, it also revealed emotional depths and inner strength I never knew existed before this life-changing experience. When I finally stepped away from work to fully prepare for the birth of my twins, I realized how much of the journey had been spent simply trying to survive one day at a time. Looking back, I understood that balance was never about doing everything perfectly. It was about adapting constantly, forgiving myself during difficult moments, and recognizing that vulnerability does not erase strength. Twin pregnancy transformed every part of my life emotionally, physically, and professionally. But it also revealed how powerful the human spirit becomes when love and responsibility collide. The challenges were immense, yet every sacrifice carried purpose because two lives were growing through every difficult moment. Even now, I still carry the emotional memories of exhaustion, fear, and uncertainty, but I also carry the knowledge that resilience is often born inside seasons that feel impossible to survive. Sometimes the hardest journeys become the experiences that reshape our understanding of courage, identity, and unconditional love forever. Balancing work while carrying twins is not simply a challenge of time management or physical endurance. It is an emotional journey filled with silent sacrifices, invisible fears, and moments of strength that often go unnoticed by the world. Behind every parent expecting twins, there is usually a story of exhaustion, pressure, uncertainty, and determination that deserves to be acknowledged with compassion and respect. This experience teaches that true resilience is not about pretending to be unbreakable, but about continuing forward even during moments of vulnerability and fear. For every parent currently facing this overwhelming season of life, remember that survival itself is an extraordinary achievement. The difficult days will eventually become memories, but the love, strength, and growth developed through those struggles will remain forever. Sometimes the heaviest seasons of life create the strongest versions of ourselves.